Well, hello there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, if you don't know. Hello. And today we're going to be talking about books, and specifically what I read in May, because as you see it in the title, it's the May Reading Wrap-Up, or the May Wrap-Up, or whatever the hell I typed there. I don't know yet. Cheers. So the first book that I read in May was Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. But I'm going to talk about that one last. So let's move on. The next one was Shiver by Ali Reynolds. This book came into my life from the Once Upon a Book Club box. If you want to see all the unboxings, I started doing those in my shorts. So go to the shorts playlist, and then all the individual unboxings of the gifts that come with the book through that service are there. So, okay. This book takes place in the cold mountains, an isolated cabin where a mystery is trying to be solved. So we're in the head of Mila, who was a competitive snowboarder, and it takes place in two timelines from 10 years ago to now. Something happened 10 years ago. Someone died, and they're trying to figure out the who, what, when. Who, what, when, where, why, how, all that fun stuff. And it has a little bit of vibes of like Agatha Christie's, oh my gosh. And Then There Were None. It was a pretty standard thriller. It was good. It didn't do anything new or crazy. If you are a thriller or horror fan on the regular, you can figure it out fairly quickly as to what happened and who done it. So cool. And that doesn't bother me. I mean, it almost bothered me in the beginning when I was like, did I just figure this whole thing out in less than 100 pages? But then things got then you get a little more in the story like, oh, okay, I didn't, thank goodness, because I was going to be really mad. But if you're a horror or thriller connoisseur, then you can figure it out. And if that bothers you, don't pick it up. If it doesn't bother you and you just want kind of a fun ride, pick it up. Shiver was a decent book. The only real problem I had with it is that because it takes place with two timelines, it jumps back and forth. One timeline seems to be longer and have more content than the other timeline. So the shorter timeline had to be drawn out more, and that led to repetition and being in Mila's head way too much. And there were some contradictory things, like Mila's trying to take notes, so she went to her window in her room and breathed on the glass, and she's like, oh, I hope someone doesn't see this. But then like the next page or, whatever, it was like, oh, that's okay. If someone comes in, I can just erase it. So it's like, why wasn't that a concern then and here? So just things like that, that's super nitpicky, that I was kind of like, okay, because she is kind of the author stalling for time to draw out the timeline that's shorter and has less meat to it. So that was my biggest issue, but it was a standard thriller. It was a decent thriller. The next book that I read, which I really adored, was Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This follows Tarsai, who is going off to be, who has a task to do, but she does not know what that task is. It's deep in her brain, and this has like it's like a magical realism fantasy world. And there's some political intrigue, and there's wonderful characters. And I felt so in this world in this book, and the author has been crafting this since she was 13 years old, and I think that is amazing, and I am so happy for her that this came out and that it is so well received and loved. The audiobook was fantastic. Loved the narration. Okay, the next two books that I read were actually pretty emotionally draining, but they are necessary, and it was emotionally draining in a good way because I learned a lot, and they're tough reads. So the first one was Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This is chronicling the caste system in the United States. Because there is one, and we've always known that there is one. And it needs to stop, like, immediately. But, you know, it's the system and the systematic oppressions are so ingrained in this country that even though you know it's there, I think what this book does really well is, even though you're aware that the system of oppression is there and it is real, without a personal, like, human connection, you don't fully understand the gravity of that systematic oppression. And I think Isabel Wilkerson did a wonderful job bringing those personal stories to you. Like, here is what the oppression is, and here's stories from people who went through it. And then you can connect to that person and that family and those stories on a human level. And then it makes you maybe understand more. And another thing I really like about caste is, no matter what your knowledge level is, it's accessible. So someone who has deep knowledge about this caste system or about the systematic oppression can look at this and say, this was well researched. I agree with this. Okay, like, great information. Someone who wants to learn more about this, it's accessible. So it can span any knowledge base and any interest base. And I think stuff like this is what needs to be taught in schools. Now, unfortunately, we have a political system that is now trying to ban teaching slavery and the Black experience in schools, which is infuriating on a level that I cannot express. It's literally one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Ever. Anyway, Caste, wonderful book. Again, narration was great. The next book that I read was also really tough to get through, but I think very necessary. And it's a little bit of a booktube darling right now, but for a reason. And that would be Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Chanel Miller is the survivor of the Stanford sexual assault case. And can we just talk for a second about the amount of strength that this woman has to put her name out there, because she remained anonymous for a long time, put her name out there, write her own book, narrate the audiobook herself. Oh my gosh, and just put it out there. Like, this is what's happening in our world and the way women are treated and how little they're believed and how little, like, it just, again, so infuriating that it's hard to articulate, but the lack of care and seriousness we place on women feeling uncomfortable is nothing short of mind-blowing. And like, most women can attest to something happening. Like, okay, so I was dating someone, and he was on duty. I'm prior military. He was on duty, and a neighbor came over, tried to kiss me, pushed him away, told him no. Told my boyfriend at the time, hey, this guy tried to kiss me. And the next day, my boyfriend comes to me and he goes, are you sure? Like, did that happen? I'm like, the anger. And that is just mild compared to what some people go through. Now, if something happens, I encourage everyone to report it. Scream it at the top of your lungs. But if you are uncomfortable reporting, folks, don't judge people that don't want to do that. Make people feel as comfortable as possible, regardless of whatever decision they make. But I, as an individual, believe it's important to speak up. So I encourage those folks to speak up. Anyway, fantastic book. She narrates it herself. Crazy, right? It's another important book that people should read. And then after those 2 books, I really needed something light and a little more on the happy side. And I read Shipt by Angie Hockman, and I freaking adored this book. It is adorable. It's about 2 people vying for the same job in digital marketing, and they want to be the digital marketing director. And I work in digital marketing, so it's kind of like, it's really funny to see like the blanket statements. That's like, oh, well, this is what we do. And I'm like, there's so much more. But anyway, it didn't ruin my enjoyment at all. I just think it's kind of funny. But Shipt was, oh my gosh. So they have to go experience their experiences. They're sent off to come up with a great pitch for their cruise line. And so they go on this adventure together, and then they sort of find each other. And one of the things I really liked about this is, yeah, there you have your regular tropes of like miscommunication, but it's on a more minuscule scale. And I feel that there was a lot more, oh, well, this is why I feel this way than in other books. And I thought that was really nice. We got the communication between the 2 love interests, and it was just, oh, I loved it so much. It was so sweet. And if you just need to smile, so I finished this in a day. If you just need to smile, just Shipt was great. Now, something that is going to make me a little angry, Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. I have said this before with Fixer Up. I love Tessa Bailey's writing. I really do. I think she's such a good author, and I love like the sass she puts in. She does dialogue and banter really well. But the men she puts in her books are possessive and sexist, and just, this was nowhere near the heights that, or the lows that Fixer Up was, but the dude in this book is still just like possessive and jealous and blah, 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 blah. So, spoilers. There is a moment where, oh my gosh, and I am forgetting the main characters' names because I just don't care. Bethany wants to strike out on her own and do her own stuff. Now, the fathers and the brothers are also possessive, sexist assholes. So I don't understand. I just want to be like, Tessa, who hurt you? Your writing is so great. Can we have more positive males in your stories, please? Because these are not guys that people should be falling in love with. I don't personally understand it. If this is your thing, enjoy it, have fun. The sex scenes are really steamy, so got you. But on a personal, emotional level, this is just not for me, in my opinion. And if you vibe with me, you will probably not like this either. Not saying don't give it a shot, but just go into it being aware that the possessiveness is extra. So Bethany wants to strike out on her own and do her own flip. She gets the opportunity. There's this whole HGTV storyline that goes on to blah, blah, blah. So this dude leaves her brother's company to go help her and be her foreman on her flip. Cool. Great. So she wants to interview people she wants to go interview people as construction workers. So you would think that someone who has been in this industry since she was a child, because her father did this, then her brother is taking over the family business, and she's a part of that family business, would know what to ask for and know what to look for and the type of skills necessary to do this flip, even though she was never allowed to do it herself because I'm a woman and I can't swing a hammer. Me, Daddy said so, and Big Brother said so too. Anyway, I digress. So you would think she would at least have some knowledge base as to what would make a good construction worker, who would do well with her and the team that she wants to create. Dude's like, no, I don't want you talking to other men. So then he goes to some random supply store, because in Texas, where this guy's from, you just walk in and you say it loud enough that, man, I really have some work to do, and people will come out of the woodwork and just want to help you. Oh, but that's not the way it happens here. So he goes in, asks someone at the like hardware store, hey, do you know of anyone who would be looking for work? And he's like, oh yeah, it was a group of college kids. They do decent work. They're really hungry. You know, they want to learn and blah, blah, blah. Oh, but and he's thinking, oh, but they're young college kids. I can't possibly have them around her because Bethany's just too hot and she's going to want to, and these college kids are going to leer at her. So then he hires these two guys just right then and there, these older gentlemen. Now, older gentlemen can absolutely do this job. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he hires these old retired dudes because they're going to be too old to be interested in Bethany. Bethany won't be interested in them. And he has no idea what their skill sets are. That's not the way shit works. And I just can't. And it's shit like that. And I'm like, no, she should put together her own freaking team because she knows what she's looking for and what she wants. She has a knowledge base. And to even hint that she has no knowledge of construction and flipping homes, I think is really dumb. Like, there would be no way she doesn't have some sort of foundational knowledge and would know what she's looking for. And this guy's got, you know, some emotional family stuff, which actually I thought was pretty good. And again, she does banter well. She does dialogue well. She does her sex scenes really well. It's just the type of guy that just churns my stomach. Don't like it, can't stand it. Nope. And that is my rant on tools of engagement. So all of those books came out to a total of 3,100 pages. And I'm going to go continue reading because I'm in the middle of like 5 books right now. And I keep jumping around. My brain just won't settle on one. So I just finished a book today, actually, but I won't talk about that until later. And so, you know, click all the things, follow in all the places. And until next time, bye.